Some Rays baseball.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the opener. Will and Zach here with you. What a season it has been for the Rays. I kind of wanted to throw that out right at the jump here, just like a moment of appreciation, a moment of gratitude for just how good we are right now. And Will, coming out of the trade deadline, we make some moves, which more news has come out about these moves since we recorded immediately after the trade deadline ended. But the moves are having an impact right away. We're going to talk about those guys, I'm sure. And we're 6-0 on a West Coast road trip, which can cause a problem for anybody, and especially the Rays. That's about as far as you could travel. So, life's pretty good in Rays land. Will, how are you, and how are you opening?
I'm doing good. I always get worried about these West Coast road trips, right? Because, like you said, it's as far as you're going to travel, in the U.S. You got to go up to Canada, you play Toronto. But, I could open with a lot of ways. We're going to talk about, post deadline. We're going to talk about some serious stuff. But I feel like I just have to open. Carson Williams is back on this team for a third time, and I'm not sure how to feel about it.
Yeah, he's allegedly back on the team. We haven't seen or heard much about him. He's kind of a, once you lose that prospect shine a little bit, and now you're just kind of an org guy. Like
Yeah.
when he came up and was in the field, like they hardly even put him on TV, and they're clearly shying away from him. Cash clearly shying away from him in the batter's box because there was an opportunity with runners on, maybe in like the sixth inning against, I guess it would have been the Mariners, pretty sure. And I don't think he was up for the Rockies. So
No.
and it's a righty on the mound, and instead of like leaving him in or choosing opting him to hit, Cash brings in Valade
Yeah.
to hit righty. So I think maybe that could have been the same game where Carson ended up coming in as a defensive replacement after the fact
Yeah.
at second base. But I mean, like, very bizarre. Like, why is he up here? Like you could have brought up. You want a righty, so you could have brought up Nick Madrigal. I think he needs a roster spot. I think he needs a 40-man
Yeah,
spot.
he
So
has to be on the 40. Yep.
it might just be one of those things. But like clearly, at the very least, Kevin Cash does not have a lot of confidence in Carson. And Carson, man, we've talked about this before, doesn't have a lot of confidence in himself. Like he's just always hangdogging it. Like anything, can't get a bunt down, head down, shoulder slumped. Just like I don't know. There's gonna be a lot of
Yeah.
positive in this episode, so it's funny like coming out of the gates, but had to get a couple things off our chest. I think with Carson, it's just like awkward right now.
Yeah, we've talked about Carson a lot on this podcast, which is the whole reason we're even talking about him now. And it's like you said, he doesn't really have that number one prospect in the org shine anymore to him. He's not this shiny new toy anymore. It's his third time up. He had a really small stint of like 5 games around like kind of like the April, May time frame, and they had him
Yeah,
up. But
opening day roster.
yeah, opening day roster. Yep. But it there is a lack of confidence there in Carson and in himself and in the management, right? Like, I think it was a left-hander. They went with Valade, makes sense, but then they put Valade at second base instead of Carson.
Yeah,
So it's Carson's not going to get better when he only has 1 or 2 at bats a game. He's just not going to happen. I guess the only positive you take away is he hasn't struck out yet in his limited plate appearances. He's popped up every single time so far.
yeah. But well, it's funny because it's like the exact thing. The amazing thing is that how the level jumps from AAA to the majors and how the execution rate of these guys with their pitches jumps up. It's so clear that the strategy for him is to throw breaking balls down and away, and just like how amazing these pitchers are at executing that, and it's an immediate out for Carson. He's early on it, reads it as a fastball. He's early on it, tries to save it, pops it up, so. I don't know. As soon as another option becomes available, which there was some news kind of right before this pod that Jorge Mateo the Rays are looking at picking him up. He was available, I guess, on waivers to maybe come in, and I think the Rays would probably opt for him over Carson at this point. It's like it's very interesting. I don't know where the career goes from here. He hasn't really had a chance extended chance. Like as long as Taylor Walls is on this roster, it's gonna be hard for Carson to get in there, Real, just truly. I mean, Taylor
Yeah,
Walls is so
it's kind of weird
valuable
to
that
think about, right?
I
That
know.
Taylor Walls is what's keeping Carson, but also Carson's keeping it from himself, right? Before he was
Yes.
coming up, I think he was, had 7+ games where he didn't even have a hit in Durham. So
Yeah. He was on like a 0 for
it's
30.
I would like to see him just get more consistent at bats, but it seems like it comes down. I think I've talked about before that they're just the pitch recognition is just not there. I
Yep.
don't know if it's an analytics thing. It's too much in his head. I don't know what it is, but you kind of see the sweeper and he's swinging out of his shoes on it, right? He's under a lot of these pitches. He's not catching up. Junior Caminero, and they probably say this about every player. Junior Caminero has said like Carson Williams is one of the best players he's ever seen, and that's Junior Caminero saying that. But they came up through the minors together, so they're very, very close. You'll see them together in the dugout, on the field, like they're with each other a lot. And Junior says that Carson is one of the best players he's ever seen. So I genuinely think it's just a confidence thing. You saw him come up last season, and he looked fine. Like the batting average was there, the strikeouts were high, but the power was there, right? And the defense was a little sloppy for
Yeah.
for for Carson. But I just I can't write this guy off yet until he's getting like consistent at bats. Like you look at
Yeah.
guys like George Lombard Jr. Like, hey, the position's yours, shortstop's all yours. Do whatever you want with it, right? You got, Connor Griffin with the Pirates. Like, hey, shortstop's yours. However it goes, he goes, right? And you have all these other young guys. JJ Weatherholt. You got Kevin McConnell over on the Tigers. Like, you have all these young shortstops that their team has just kind of given them the reins and say, hey, it's all you. Go figure it out, right? We're with you on this. No one's coming to take your job. But for Carson and what the Rays, it feels like they do with a lot of their prospects is they don't give them that chance, right? You look at kind of Curtis Mead, and you were kind of a platoon guy. You went back down, back and forth. Feel like he's not the one they've done it with, but that's kind of a common theme that I've seen with the Rays and their prospects that are position player prospects.
I think right now Carson Williams' outlook is kind of similar to Curtis Mead. Like it may
Yeah.
not work
Yep.
here with the Rays. Like we maybe in the offseason he gets traded for a single A pitcher or for infield depth or something, and then he gets a chance with the Rockies or something
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
that's
Like
a team
it's
that could
just
look at him.
yeah, they already have Tovar over there, but like Tovar's not very good. He's a good defender. Yeah, I don't know. It is starting to pot off. Like I think it's just weird. But besides that, there is a lot of good going on for the Tampa Bay Rays. I was looking at Pacoda projections, one of my favorites here. Just a good resource to see like the whole league. Where do things stand here? The Rays projected for 95 wins. Currently have 71 wins, which is the highest, most in the AL. And they're projected for 95. Yankees projected for 90. Boston projected for 86. They'd probably argue that based on the way that they've played lately, like kind of unprecedented levels of just shooting up the standings for Red Sox. It's something like 26-5 in some
Yeah, I
kind
think
of
it's more
run
than that. I
like
think it's
that.
like 30. I think it's like 31-6
It's
or something.
unbelievable what they're doing, and they've quickly become a factor, and there's a lot more positivity I think around them and themselves than there is in New York right now, just with the heavy hitters on New York being out. I mean, Red Sox are also missing Crochet and Roman Anthony, which you could argue that's their best player on each side of the ball. You could say that Roman Anthony is their best hitter
Yeah.
and Crochet is probably their best pitcher, and yet here they are as a factor. I think it's been this way for a while, but Baltimore and Toronto are not necessarily ruled out of a wild card, but they're not factoring in for the division at all. I mean, they really haven't. The Rays have an 85% chance to win the division, according to these projections. So, yeah, they're projecting for the same amount of wins as Milwaukee, which kind of
Wow.
puts things into
That kind of
perspective for
puts
me because
them
Milwaukee's
together.
very good. Milwaukee's very good. Yeah, so we're in a great spot. And coming out of this trade deadline, we talked about all those guys. I think at a certain point in the last pod, it was a little frustrating for me that we couldn't make a bigger swing. I was still very happy with the deadline and the guys we got. It's just like, second base. Really, I feel like we could have found somebody. We could have put some more chips in. We found some more. I guess I'm not as upset about Skubal now that more information has come out about it. Just seemed like not fair what the Tigers were asking from the Rays and the Brewers versus what they took from the Dodgers. This was
Yeah.
not, this was not information that we had at the time. And they're asking for Theo Gillen from us, who is just like an upper echelon prospect at this point, a top 5 prospect on the path to potentially become a number 1.
Yeah.
And in Double A, and then whereas they get, for the outfielder, they took Zaire Hope from the Dodgers, who is a good hitter, but like not a great defender, and just in a different, like the next level down from Gillen.
Yeah.
And then they wanted River Ryan, who is a pitcher, 28-year-old prospect, the infamous like super old prospect, right? Really good stuff, good velo, but massive injury history, and also 4 years older than like a Michael Ferret, who maybe could have been in that package from the Rays. I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of rambling here. It's just like, I would have loved to seen how this all actually went down, because it kind of just seems like the Dodgers or the Tigers just really liked somebody from the Dodgers or whatever. Maybe it's Hope, maybe it's Ryan, I don't know, and they just took it. And then we're really like, maybe that deal was on the table. They really liked it, and then they were like, oh, let's go see if the Rays will give us Gillen. They're kind of rubbing their hands like this. Anyway, what's your reaction to all that?
Yeah, when like you said, we filmed our trade deadline reaction right after everything was done, and this news came out afterwards. And you kind of look at there's reports that the Tigers were a little nervous once the Mariners said that George Kirby was available, and Emerson Hancock, they were talking about him a little bit, and I think they just kind of saw the shine of like the Dodgers name, and 2 top 100 prospects, and every team has their own internal rankings of prospects, specific stuff that they look for and how they play. But it is kind of crazy to me that the Tigers looked at the Dodgers, who, and this is part of that's going to go into a lockout potentially next season, is, look at a team like the Dodgers, and instead of asking for, their top 3 prospects or anything like that, that they were like, these 2 guys plus a third one. Sure, we could do that. But when they look at the Rays and look at the Brewers, teams that can't really go out in free agency and get players, and they said, we want your number 1 prospects at minimum. It's kind of weird when you look at it, right? Especially when you look at a guy like Theo Gillen and Jesus Made, if I'm pronouncing his name right.
Yeah.
Those are 2 top 5 prospects in baseball.
Right.
And they were expecting these low budget teams to give those players for a month, 2 months of Tarek Skubal, which is just kind of absurd. And I think they kind of looked at the Dodgers, and the Dodgers weren't as desperate for Skubal, compared to looking at the Rays and the Brewers, saying, you guys have never won World Series. And I know the Brewers, I don't think you've ever been to a World Series, right? Actually, I think they have been to a World Series. But neither team's ever won a World Series. They probably looked at both of them. It's like, you want to win a World Series? Give up your top prospect. And, as I would have also done, both organizations said, no, that's not happening.
And I can't blame them for that. Like that's just such an egregious overpay. 1 for 1 is like as close as you're going to get. If you want Gillen and more, like that's just kind of crazy talk at this point, So the guy we do get is Freddie Peralta, right? And he starts tonight in Sacramento, which that's just a tough, like you go to a new team and you got the Rockies, and then, you go to Colorado and you're playing on the moon, and then you go to Sacramento where it's like the wind's going to be 20 miles an hour blowing out. And so we'll see what he does tonight. Really, I'm not even that focused on like what his stat line's going to be, Peralta, tonight. I'm more just focused on what adjustments maybe are we going to see coming through. Are there going to be any pitch mix adjustments? Because it's only been a week, so it's like, what you don't have a lot of time though to the end of the season. You want to start workshopping things to get him right for the playoffs. I think the biggest concern for the Rays right now is our depth of our starting rotation. So thank God we got Peralta. If we didn't get Peralta, we might be talking about Joe Boyle up in the majors right now. We might be talking about Ty Johnson coming up. They brought up Michael Grove to fill in some innings.
Still in Durham.
Engler, sure, right. I think Schultens might be still injured. I don't know if he would have been an option.
I don't know. He might have started his rehab. I'm not sure. Okay. I think he's pretty close to coming back.
Yeah, so like that's where the direction we were headed, and obviously Freddie Peralta has much more experience and upside than all of those guys. So good thing he's
This
here.
is something that we've talked about though. Sorry to cut you off, but this is something we've talked about, of starting pitching depth, and that's why they took Griffin Jacks. That's why they took Mason Engler and stretched them into starters, with the expectation of any team that you are going to have some injuries to your starting pitching, and you need guys to fill those spots. Now, Shane McClanahan should only be on the IL for another, I don't know, maybe it's like next week, and he should come back. they say no concern. We'll see. But when you look at, you know, someone like Griffin Jacks, that's a little bit more concerning because they're talking about his elbow. They said, oh, he kind of felt better on Sunday. It's no ligament thing. I think we got ahead of it. And now he's going to Texas for imaging. So
Right.
you don't really know what to believe. And that's a big blow. That's a different blow than having to eat innings in the regular season. That's a potential blow of this guy was one of our, you know, probably like our number 4 starter on the team that is hitting us pretty hard, right?
He would have been a playoff starter, I think, for us. I think maybe it wouldn't have been the highest leverage game because you're probably going to go, Rasmussen.
Yeah,
Low key, you might go Martinez too.
I'd go Mart
which
too. Yeah,
which like is just nuts to think about. Then you probably have McClanahan or Jax in there, and then Peralta as your 4th guy, depending on how Peralta.
yeah.
Let's see how Peralta looks. You know,
It
like
depends on who
there's
they
a chance
play.
he could be the number 2, right?
I
Like
think.
he's the number 1 for the Brewers. I think the Miz probably was number 1 for the Brewers last year, even
Probably.
as a rookie.
Yeah,
I can't remember when they played that Dodgers series where they got absolutely smoked.
yeah.
Have you seen?
I
Did you
don't
watch
remember.
Foolish Baseball at all? You know that name on YouTube?
Yeah. Yep.
He had a great video, and this is going to tie into the Rays. He had a great video about how the Brewers aren't built for October because they beat up on really bad pitchers and they struggle massively against very good pitchers. What have the Rays done this year? They've gone and beat Max Fried, Garrett Cole. You might have to help me list these. We just went to the Mariners, who have this allegedly incredible pitching rotation that's totally not boosted by their ballpark at all.
And we beat all of them.
And
I think
we
they
beat all
won
of
the
them.
Jacob Mizorowski game.
I
when they-
can't remember.
early in the
Did we face
season.
him?
Early in the season, was like, you know, during that series, that run where we were playing all the or the
Yeah.
NL Central teams, and I'm
Right.
pretty sure the Rays faced Miz, and I think Yandy went deep on him. Let me look this up.
Look that up. I'm trying to remember. That vaguely rings a bell. But I mean, we've Dylan Cease. We've beat Dylan Cease. You know, like Gossman, like all
Kevin
these playoff
Gausman.
starters. It's gonna be. You know what the last series of the year is, by the way? Philly.
Phillies.
That's gonna be a great test. Imagine if that lines up where it's like Luzardo, Wheeler, Sanchez. Very curious to see how we do against those guys. Very, very curious to see how we do there. Yeah, I mean that's just gives me confidence going into the playoffs that this style of baseball that we're playing, which typically is not super playoff friendly.
To the Miz.
8-2. Okay. It gives me some
8-2.
confidence though, the
But
fact
they-
that we
they
beat
had-
some
they
good
had 2
pitchers
runs off
because.
them.
Oh, sorry, I cut you off a little bit. I think we got a little buffering, a little technicality, but okay. So we lost that game. Yeah. No, we're good. Yeah. So I don't know. Wrapping up my thought, I think we've proven that we can handle with good pitching, which is all you're going to see in the postseason, especially as you get further down the line. We'll see what happens in the ALDS. It's likely going to be one of the Yankees or the Red Sox, the way things kind of look right now. So, we'll see. So you get Peralta in there. We also get Liam Hicks, and he's had an impact right away. Extending that lineup by one slot, right? Just extending it by that one slot. Has a grand slam in his first game. What a way to start. Against the Mariners, has a 2-run double down the line. He's been up with the bases loaded, I think, 4 times in 6 games.
Yeah, he almost hit another grand slam.
Yes, he pulled it just foul. He pimped it a little bit too. He's got a little bit of Yandy in him, a little bit of sneaky Yandy in him. I don't think he's struck out yet. I could be wrong. I don't think he's struck out yet with us. So it's like he's the anti Carson Williams, although Carson hasn't struck out this time. But
Carson has he's had 3 plate appearances, 0 strikeouts, 3 pop-ups.
That's all we're looking at here. But yeah, I mean, Hicks has been a lot of fun to watch in the box. But like, he's got a great eye, great approach, knows what he's trying to do out there.
Yeah, I like Liam Hicks. You know, the Rays did what they had to do, and they went and got a catcher, which is something that we talked about, right? And you know, I'm kind of glad that it ended up being, you know, Nick Fortes that stayed on the team. I feel like he's just been more of like part of the culture of this Rays team, and has had, you know, no disrespect Hunter Fiducia, he's back on the Dodgers, so I think he's feeling okay. You know, he's in LA and he's fine. So is Ben Warfet. They're both in LA right now. They're fine.
So crazy. That is so crazy.
There is, like you said, that extra spot in the lineup. You don't really think about it too much, right? Because we talk about the big 3, and especially as watching the Rays all season, you kind of notice it, right? Cedric Mullins hitting 4, Chandler Simpson hitting 4, Johnny DeLuca hitting 4, even though I love my boy Johnny D. But you feel a difference in the game as it's going on. right? Like, you see Yandy and Aranda, one of them gets on, you have Junior. Usually you're like, all right, like we got to do something here with Junior because might not be able to get another chance to score a run this inning. But say something happens to Junior, he flies out or just gets a base hit. Now you got Liam Hicks up there,
Yeah, or he gets intentionally walked,
or he
and then
gets
Liam Hicks is
intentionally walked,
behind him.
which we saw in Seattle. Now they just let me just walk you. I'll try to face Liam Hicks, and we'll bring a lefty in to face Liam Hicks. We'll do something
Yeah,
like that. And when you do that, you kind of play into the Rays' hands, right? Because you can pinch hit Liam Hicks for Nick. I almost said Nick Fortes, which you could, but you got Ryan Vilade that comes up,
yeah,
right?
you
So
pinch
that,
hit
that kind of
Vilade.
plays
Yep.
the Rays' way. So if you want to do that, sure, but we'll kind of match you, and that's how the Rays play ball. So Liam Hicks, I'm excited to see Freddie Peralta pitch tonight. I
Me
do
too.
want to see. I'm a little bit more interested in his stat line, but just for one number, and that's the walks. Right. I'm curious to see, like he's
Yeah,
usually. I think last outing he maybe had 2 or 3 walks, which is kind of high for a race pitcher, but it's not too crazy. But that's kind of what I'm going to be looking at. But just kind of the stuff, the movement of it, the swing and miss is what I'm really going to be
yeah.
looking at. I'm going to really look at how much he uses that changeup because we know that's the Rays meta this season. So I'm really curious because he's fastball Freddy, but I really want to see him use this changeup and see how the Rays implement it with him. So I'm excited. And then you can't forget about talking about Tyler Wells. That
No,
cutter
can't wait to talk
is
about him.
disgusting,
Gnarly.
man.
Cutter's gnarly. One of the greatest. It's got a little bit of that. Little bit of that. What's his name? Kenley Jansen to it, where
Yeah,
it sort of has like lift, like it kind of
yeah, he has like a lift
floats
that
through
goes
the air.
through you.
And the first time we saw it was in Colorado, and it was still
Mhm.
moving that way. Like
Yeah,
it kind of took my breath away. I want to pull up. I want to pull up his savant. I have like 7 savants open, and of course not his. Um,
yeah.
my tabs
But
during these episodes are always just nuts.
it's interesting. You already kind of saw how the Rays have used him, like obviously in high leverage late game situations, but also when they had that bullpen game after Jax was scratched. I think he came in as I think he was the third pitcher
Yeah,
that came
he.
in. So
Yes, he
right, it
was.
was Legumina, Boozer, and then Wells, I think, or maybe
Or it
somebody
might have
came
been
between.
Legamina Wells. Yeah, no, I think that's right. Legamina Boozer. Is there one?
That's
Maybe there was one more in
it.
between them.
Might have been. It might have. I don't know.
He was
I
in
know
there
it was
early though. He was in
Legumina
the third or
and
fourth
Boozer.
inning.
So, but that kind of shows also because some guys like I bet if you put Brian Baker in like the fourth or fifth inning, he might not be as good because he's not as pumped up for the ninth inning, right? You've seen this with like ninth inning closers is sometimes bring them the eighth or the seventh, especially in the playoffs, and they're not as effective. But Tyler Wells, it's nice to see that you could just put him in the fourth inning, fifth inning, and he's great. You could put him in the seventh or eighth inning, and he's great. So I think this is going to be that unsung hero. Everyone's going to talk about Liam Hicks for probably the next 2 years because he's under control for a while.
Yeah,
If the Rays go on a nice run and Freddie Peralta turns around, they'll be talking about Freddie Peralta. I think the Tyler Wells trade is the one that is not getting enough attention in the media about how much of an impact that was. And it cost the Rays
yeah.
Michael Ferret. So that shows how much the Rays valued him too.
And apparently the Yankees had asked about Wells, so that might have been part of why it cost Ferret. I think maybe there was a little bit of a bidding war. There wasn't that many relievers moved around at the deadline compared
Not
to
a lot of
last year.
relievers and not a lot of infielders that were moved.
Yeah, not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I'm trying to make sense of this cutter. It's hard to explain without looking at the pitch plot, but you can just see by looking at it that it has a lot more. It's different than Rasmussen's, where it kind of looks a little bit more like a slider and cuts down to the left. Wells just has the visual look of it almost going up and to the left, and you can see why lefties. That's the great thing with Wells. He can get lefties and righties out effectively. He's going to be a lot of fun. A lot of fun. He's going to get some huge innings in the postseason. Him and
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly are going to be firemen, and Brian Baker then for the save situations. Who, by the way, has now the franchise record for most consecutive saves. So
Yeah, that's
I think,
awesome.
and he's leading the league. He's leading the major leagues in saves. So I mean, what a year for him. You asked me at the beginning of this year who was going to who was going to get the most saves, and I said Griffin Jax.
I said between I think the question was between Jax, Clevenger, and Useda. Name that who totally forgot that guy
Yeah,
existed.
yeah,
Clevenger, Jackson, Useda over under 20 saves per like is one of them going to get over 20 saves? And I think we were kind of like I think you were like, yeah, I think Jax is probably going to get. And you even brought it up. You said, well, we also have Brian Baker also. I said, yeah, but he's not talked about as much as these other 3 guys. Like I'm not even including him. And Brian Baker is this is one of those, like, it's almost like Nick Anderson type of season where he's just
Yeah.
so locked down and he's just so effective. Fernando Rodney type season, right? That you
Hmm.
don't really see, you know, from closers every single year. But he was an all-star, well-deserved all-star, and the Rays got him for a couple of years. The Rays got him for a first-round pick, and then they got that first-round pick in Slater DeBrun.
It's a mess, dude. That whole trade is like the trade tree is a lot of roots going through that tree. Yeah,
Yep.
I love when and Wells has like a he's 6'8", but he's like
It's huge.
got some meat on the bones. Like, he's not a lanky 6'8". He's not like Tyler Glass now out there, and
Yeah.
he just kind of it's like he's like strolling into the office, clocking in. I'm just gonna throw this cutter by you. You're gonna whiff at this changeup. All right, guys, that's it for me. Like just like a ho hum. I don't know.
Yeah.
Interested to watch him as a Ray.
He kind of, it's like him and
Yeah, so
him
those
and
are
Kevin Kelly. They're there for work. They're not there. They're not
yeah.
there to have fun. It's I feel like Kevin Kelly's there. He's like, this is my job, right? Like I never see a reaction from Kevin Kelly.
Anecdote from you. I went to a game for you. I went to a game at Fenway last year in July. Like it was the game when say Don Rafaela walked off over the monster against Pete Fairbanks, and I was there at that game. And we went in early pregame, and Kevin Kelly was throwing a bullpen in the bullpen. So I sat there, watched for a few minutes, and he wraps up his bullpen with the bullpen catcher, kind of like looks around a little bit. There's a few fans around and sort of shrugs his shoulders and says to the bullpen catcher, I'll figure it out one day. And this was during like his awful run of just giving up homer. And here we are. I think the day has come. I think it was the changeup all along. That's really been the difference there. Because when I was complaining about him last year, it was the fact that he was throwing 73% sinkers, and they were all like right down the middle. Yeah. And now I think it's like 60% sinker.
And he had that
20%.
injury last season. Also, he was like kind of affected
Yeah.
that he was injured and he was off and he broke Aronda's arm.
Yeah. There was something that this just popped up back into my head when you were talking about Carson Williams and the pitch recognition and the breaking balls. When have we seen the biggest maybe development step from Junior Caminero this year? Not swinging at the sweepers and sliders down and away as much. It's still like it's going to get everybody at sometimes. That's just a nasty pitch. It's like one of the best pitches in the game. Fastball slider is like it's like the dynamic duo. But I think you're right. When Junior got this opportunity, obviously better profile coming into the majors as a rookie, just offensively at least. He gets the full season opportunity, and now he comes into his second season, and he's a much better hitter. And at a certain point, how much more is there for Carson to learn in AAA? So we'll have maybe more discussion for this next year, because there's going to be some decision points next year. If he's not our shortstop next year, then we're really starting to get into questionable territory.
Yeah, you get into a weird spot next season with all the contracts and stuff, right? Taylor Walls is in his last year before his arbitration. Well, it's kind of weird. It's his last year of arbitration, but they extended him, so it's his club option, but it's only worth like $3 million, and the payout is like $50,000. Like it's like less than like some people's salaries.
There was a time when A-Rod was making like $100,000 per pitch that he saw. Remember that? That's or per at bat or whatever.
Yeah, it was absurd. So we'll see kind of what the Rays want to do. Like it is 100% a real possibility that the Rays look at the team next year and just kind of think like, there is no effing way we're going to win like 95 plus games again next year. That was a crazy run. We have too many guys we're losing. Maybe we make some adjustments, right? Maybe Melton's on the opening day roster. Maybe Gillen, obviously Gillen's going to be in AAA, but if he does good enough spring training, maybe they put him on the opening day roster, right? Next season, the Rays just might say like, we have to start trying some of these young guys and just see what we got, and maybe waste a year.
I think Melton's playing center field if it's not Chandler. Chandler could be playing center field too with some of the improvement. Maybe. I don't know if I love that idea.
I'm still not, I hate to say it, and I'm going to talk about him later, but I'm really still not like the biggest Chandler guy.
Yeah, I'm riding with it right now. I'm rocking with it. I mean, he was great in the outfield in this Seattle series. A lot of good jumps, a lot of good plays. It still always looks a little bit awkward, but he's making the plays. and he's batting like 380 over the last month and a half. So
Yeah.
I was looking at his stats. He's up above where he was last year. He's up above last year at this point, and I think he's got to three. He's gotten to a 333 on base. Our target for him was 350, so he's getting close. He's getting close. Yeah. I
Yeah.
also had.
We'll see how it goes with them.
Sorry, I cut you off a little bit.
Oh, we'll just see how it goes with Chandler, right? I don't view him as like a center fielder. I view him as I like him in left field, but we'll see kind of the Rays plans instead, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Um, we're gonna get to good, bad, and ugly in a minute here. I just am having a. I don't want to. Maybe let's just get to it now because I don't want to pull up. I could go around the horn and name everybody on the roster, so I don't want to skip over any good, bad, and ugly. I mean, there's been a lot of good. Let's start there. So I want to go. There's a lot of different ways I could go with this. Too many ways that I could go with this. Can I give it to you? Are you ready? Do you have your good fired up and ready to go? Okay.
I got my good fired up and ready to go, and it's so funny that we transition immediately to this segment after what I said because I'm leading off the good with Chandler Simpson, which is just
deservedly so.
It is I called Griffin Jax king of the bums, and I've eaten my words. I've taken that back. As a reliever, he's king of the bums, but I've taken that back. Yep. So I might not be sold on Chandler Simpson, but I cannot ignore Chandler Simpson, right? Like we kind of talked about him.
Inevitable.
He is. We talked about him early in the year and how good he was, and it seemed like the race, some struggles that they were going through, in not in like the very early part of the season, but I felt like there was a couple when they kind of had that bad stretch, right? I think it was in June, maybe it was May or June that they had kind of a tougher stretch, and Chandler was kind of like right in the core of that because he was not hitting good at all. He wasn't stealing bases. I think his batting average was getting down to like 240, 260, which for Chandler is awful, right? Yeah. That's not his game at all. And he's kind of turned that around, and he's a huge part of what the Rays are doing this season. So I could talk about his last 7 games. I could talk about his last 15 games, but I'm going to talk about his last 30 games where he has 12 stolen bases, a 389 average, a 460 slugging, which I'm going to take that, and a 390 on base percentage on top of playing amazing defense, right? I'm not sold on the guy, but in 900 innings, he has 3 errors this season, which is incredible compared to last season when Chandler Simpson just didn't look like he knew what he was doing out there in the outfield. And they've talked about him working with Corey Dickerson and Kevin Kiermaier, guys that have recently played for the Rays and can give real advice. I mean, Kevin Kiermaier is a platinum glove winner. I think he has 2 platinum gloves, if I'm not mistaken. But, you make those adjustments and you see the player. Chandler's only 25 years old, so he has so much room in his profile to grow. But I can't sit here and after saying I'm not really sold on Chandler Simpson, to also not say that Chandler Simpson is so good right now. Like, he is a good, huge part of what this team is doing. He hit third and he went 4 for 5 in the 3.
Yeah.
Right. And that was, we're going to see that again, probably, because it worked out pretty well. But, it's been really fun watching Chandler the last month.
Yeah. I think he's doing a hell of a job convincing you. I think. Yeah. And me too. Me
he's
too.
Getting there.
He's still like, it's kind of, this is just nuts. Like, I know this is sort of advanced stat, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to talk about. Like, just think about the stats you were listing off. How well he's hitting, right? At least offensively, how well he's hitting, the on base percentage, the average. Because there's just like no power, he is a worse than league average hitter over his last 100 rolling plate appearances.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's a hard mind blank, mental. I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's difficult to square these things up with each other because you can see the impact he has when things are going well, But then you could also imagine in the formulas, you know, the Rays formulas. It's like, is this really right? Like, are we better off with something like Melton in here with some power and some swing and miss? You
Right.
know, I think it I think it's let's keep going with Chandler though. Like it's worked out great. It's worked out
Yeah.
for all things we could have expected. It's worked out really well. So let's keep it going and see where he
Yeah.
lands as a
He's kind of
hitter.
developing into almost like a Carl Crawford esque player.
Yeah.
Crawford had a tiny bit more pop. I mean, like
Oh yeah.
I'm talking about like 3 homers a season, maybe 8 for Carl Crawford. Nothing crazy. A little bit more, speed and better base stealer, but Crawford was also, on track to be a Hall of Fame player before he left the race. So, you know, Chandler's kind of on that path of being like Carl Crawford, of having speed, getting on base, and playing a pretty good left field.
Yeah. Okay. I think I like where I actually haven't. That's a good comparison to draw there. Let's see how that goes. Um, there's a lot of good. I'm gonna struggle in the bad and ugly. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go chalk here. I'm gonna give my good to Drew Rasmussen, who just like foot is on the gas constantly, like foot is on the pedal constantly. Coming out, you're an all star. Come out of the break here, go pitch in Seattle. What do? 7 innings pitched, 2 hits, no runs, 2 walks, which he's probably low key pissed about. He doesn't like
Yeah.
to walk anybody, but it's just like it's it's so good. He's so good. And I
Yeah.
think I've seen some more of the wider MLB pub, like, you know, space kind of talk about him a little bit now, which is good to see. Um, he's unbelievable. He's got like the second lowest ERA behind Shohei since 2023. That's the stat that always
That's
goes
crazy.
around. Just the consistency, the quality. You just I wish he could go 9 innings. Like I just want him to keep pitching, like, and then pitch the next day. Just pitch every inning for us. Like,
Something
make it a robo arm and just have him pitch nonstop.
something that was interesting about Drew Rasmussen, it's kind of interesting. Like you don't think about this watching from home, right? But it's how baseball players' minds work and pitching coach minds. He was talking to Trisha Whitaker. Every Rays fan loves Trisha Whitaker, right?
Oh yeah,
But he was talking to her after the game. She said, "You were kind of like little. Didn't seem like you were under control in the first inning, and then you came out and you were lights out. What happened?" He goes, "Just a couple tweaks." She's like, "What was the tweak?" Because, well, wasn't getting enough rotation on my pitches, so we kind of had to adjust my front shoulder, keep it a little bit tighter inside when I was throwing. I was like, I would have no idea looking at you that it was probably like this tiny, and this is the mind of Kyle Snyder, right? Of I wouldn't think that you have to keep your arm a little bit tighter, probably nothing crazy, and now get you your rotation back up on your pitches. But it's what they do, and a quick adjustment that Drew can make, which is incredible that someone can make those adjustments. It shows how good Drew Rasmussen is to make those like quick adjustments in just 1 inning and then just be locked down the rest of the game.
that's one of the benefits of the Rays secret sauce. If you hire the right people and keep them there until they inevitably get poached by another team. Like,
And it's usually
think
the
about
pitchers.
it. Yeah, exactly. Pitchers, but also everybody on the staff. All the coaches. Credit to Cash that he's been here for such a long time, and Kyle Snyder too. And like, if you're Snyder, who's been here for years, Drew Rasmussen in and out, and you can pick
Yeah.
out if you're got that eye. You can pick out something like you were just saying. He probably doesn't even need the video camera on every pitch. He probably can just see. He's seen Drew Rasmussen throw tens of thousands of pitches. So
Yeah.
there's some advantage to that. Yeah, he's just been so good. So all right, let's go bad. What do you got for bad? I'm interested to see because it gets a little harder over here, but I know you're gonna pull something out.
I am. And, it is tough when the team is playing so good. I mean, 6 straight wins, like
We got to
first
keep him
team in,
honest though.
first team in the American League to 70 wins. They're at 71 right now, but no one is immune to good, bad, ugly, and that includes Yandy Diaz, who's been kind of bad lately. I
Yeah.
hate to be that guy. Everybody loves Yandy. To me, Yandy is one of the best Rays players of all time, right?
Oh yeah.
And when you look at the eras of the Rays, like right, you have the Devil Rays, 98 to 2007, and then the new era Rays. You go probably like 2008 to maybe like 2012. Then you have the Forgotten Rays, which we don't talk
Yeah.
about. 2013 to like
Yep.
2017. There's like teams you don't talk about. But 2018, maybe 2019, but we'll say 2018 to now 2026. This is the metric Rays. I don't know if that's like the right word to
Yeah.
call him.
Well, you think of the players involved. It's Yandy. It's Brandon Lau,
Right.
Rasmussen here in the last 5 of those years.
Yep.
Pete Fairbanks heavily
Correct.
associated
Willie
with that
Adonis
era.
was in that
Yep.
group, right? G-Man Choi, let's throw that name.
Kevin
Joey
Kumar was
Wendell,
there through
he
multiple
was.
of them. Yeah.
Yep. KK was there. Yep. KK's he transgressed through different eras, but this is
Yes.
I don't
Yes.
know what era we'd call this. Maybe like competitive era because it seems like they've been competitive. I'm not
Yeah.
really sure.
We'd have to think
Stadium
about
era.
that. Let's
We'll
make
come
that a
back in next
homework.
time. But
You comment below. Comment
yeah,
below.
what era are we in of the Rays right now?
Yeah.
But Yandy, through all eras, is one of the best Rays players, and he's probably is the number one positional player. I know Junior's still young. Junior's going to get one, but as of now in this era, Yandy is number one. But I think he has some sort of injury going on. Something's bugging him. The last 30 games, and this is not like Yandy to go on stretches. He
That's a
just had a
long
pretty
time
good
too.
game
I'm scared.
in Seattle, right? I think he went like he had like 3 or 4 hits in the last game. But in his last 30 games, he's hitting 234 with a 267 on base percentage. And this is where it's kind of like alarming, especially when you look at Yandy Diaz, who has great feel of the strike zone, great at battling pitches. In those last 30 games, he only has 3 home runs, but he has 25 strikeouts compared to just 6 walks. So it seems like he might be hurt, right? Maybe I think
Yeah.
it was his shoulder that was bothering him for a little, and maybe that's still impacting him. But they're in such this, especially with the Red Sox surging, that they're in this close race. So I feel like it's Yandy, right? So you don't want to lose him, and you need him in the lineup, but you can tell there's some sort of ailment going on because he's just not the Yandy Diaz that we saw for almost the whole first half of the season, and even like a little bit after that. He is really struggling right now, and I hate to do it because we love Yandy.
That's my guy, dude.
Young goat, right? Yandy's nuts, but he's struggling the last 30 days, and kind of just have to point that one out.
I love that meme where it's him and he's just like jacked with the bicep, and then it's just like Yandy on OBP go brr,
Yeah.
bottom text.
That's
Like
his
one of my
call
favorite
sign,
memes.
right? He gets on base,
So good.
and he's not even getting on base on a 270 clip, which is alarming for Yandy Diaz.
Despite how long he's been on this team, he's still an enigmatic character. You still don't know like all that much about him. You still he's very, speaks a little bit of English, enough that he went on that MLB Network hit with Junior Caminero and could say a few things. But I'm sure at first base when he played first base, he was jawing a little bit with the guys. Like Aranda does that too.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, I'm gonna make my bad short and kind of go into my ugly. My bad is just pretty simple. Ben Williamson getting hurt is bad. It's very bad. Yeah. He's not hit that.
I see how we're transitioning
overall.
this. Yep.
Yeah. So well, I might divert you. I might divert you a little bit. I might subvert expectations, right? So yeah, him getting hurt just it forces Carson up, which could eventually be ugly. I'm not gonna make him my ugly, but it's like they're gonna hide him. They're gonna hide him, and yeah, that was just my bad. We had the depth to get past Fraley. Not as much Lux. I mean, Palacios has been okay. He's been hot lately. But we had the depth to get past Fraley. Victor Mesa he could have easily been my good.
I was thinking about him too.
Awesome. Yeah. And hasn't even gotten everything out of what he's bringing to the table yet. Those numbers are only going up. So that was kind of a short bad. I'm just going to go straight to my ugly. Taylor Walls at the plate, dude. It's gone. It's gone. It was there for a week. And I felt good. Why did he get rid of that extra leg lift he had? He was driving the ball so much better. I have an idea for Taylor Walls. If he's listening, which I'm sure he's listening, maybe even pre-game. Here's an idea. Liam Hicks, it's just eye test, swings kind of like a small, short bat, and there's a lot more wrist and hands kind of in his swing. Walls has that long bat where it looks like he, instead of kind of leading with his hands and using his arms and his body and those fine muscles, it looks to me like he just feels the weight of the bat head and lets the bat just go wherever it's kind of going.
Yeah.
Does this make any kind of sense to you? Because I'm
It,
kind of
it's
just
it's it's almost like when you go to the gym, right? And you're say you're doing like curls or like rows. You're just doing some sort of workout, but you're not really controlling the weight. You're kind of just like swinging
yes,
it up to try to
yes,
like get the workout done. You're not controlling it. So yeah, it's like what he's doing with the bat. He's swinging the bat, but once he's kind of moving forward, Chandler Simpson really manipulates the bat head. Yandy manipulates the bat head as he's swinging to get to the pitches. But it seems like Taylor Walls, where that bat is going, it's not changing. It's going. That's where it's going. And if it hits the ball, it hits it. If it doesn't, oh well.
I'm not asking him to hit a 700 OPS. I want those sixth inning. You just came back from commercial break. Hopefully, Dwayne Stats is on the call, and all of a sudden, like first pitch of that at bat, like they're still getting the graphics up. It's that Taylor Walls double, that like random Taylor Walls double into
And
the
Dwayne
gap.
Stats is surprised. He goes, and Taylor Walls shoots one up.
Walls.
And Taylor Walls with the double down the line. Wow,
Yes.
Taylor
Yeah,
Walls.
how about that,
double.
PA? Yeah. Well,
You see Taylor Walls makes a great play in the field. And like, oh, Taylor, what a play. He gets a hit though. Oh, Taylor Walls RBI base hit. Whoa. What the hell just happened?
Look, my expectations are not high for him, Will. Like I'm not asking for, I just want that little bit, that surprise Walls impact to come back. He's always got the bunt. He's an elite base runner. Don't even need to talk about the defense. Last 30 games, batting 193, 258 OBP, 250 slug. So that's a 508 OPS last 30. Career 600-ish. And that's a big 100 points. That's the double that's in the gap, right? That's the seventh inning single down the, wherever. So it's ugly. It's ugly. He might be hurt too.
He could be. I know he jammed his finger. He had some back. That was a weird thing with his back. He was scratched, but then after I think it was like the seventh inning, they subbed him in for Carson at shortstop. That was Carson got some early work in that game, but yeah, as much as I love Taylor Walls, I've spoken about him so much. He's one of my favorite players on the Rays because I really like watching defense. The bat is starting to just be like too much. I think about, because we saw how New York Yankee fans were with Anthony Volpe, right? Anthony Volpe won the Gold Glove. Wasn't really deserved, but he won it.
That threw all the meaning of a Gold Glove out for me.
Sometimes I just think how would the Yankee fans feel about Taylor Walls, right? Like, how would you feel if you had this guy that's batting 200, but had like a 2.2 WAR, 2.4 WAR, because his defense was so amazing? And I'm curious how the Yankee fans would take that and would treat it, because I'm sure they'd rather have Taylor Walls than Jose Caballero, but that's a different conversation.
Yeah, I think there are some similarities between those two guys, but it's just I don't know. Maybe he can turn it around. I frankly, if Carson was a little better right now, you probably could put Walls like on the IL or give him 3 days off and have William. But we saw at the very beginning of this year, I think Walls honestly was rushed back from the injured list to fill in for Carson, because it was that what's you got good, bad, ugly. What's after that? Just atrocious.
Carson.
That's what Carson was.
Good, bad, ugly Carson. Yeah, but it's true. Like everyone was excited, and there were some fun moments in that St. Louis series with Carson, right? Like I think he was on first and he scored, and he had some extra inning stuff, and he had a home run, and then I'll never forget, he had one of the first games he had a home run, and everyone's like, oh, it was a foul ball, right? But you quickly saw that the defense is just still just kind of lacking the big league level, it seemed like, and I think it was probably nerves. And I've never seen until that time, that's the only time I've seen Rays fans on Twitter want Taylor Walls on the field because it just wasn't working with Carson.
I want Taylor Walls on the field, of course. We know what an impact he has. I need that 600 OPS Taylor Walls, not the 500. That's a big difference.
Yeah, it is a big difference. Yep. So,
all right, what do you got for ugly, and then we'll get to minor league minute and get out of here.
This is actually a good transition to minor league minute, because my ugly actually isn't somebody on the 26-man roster right now. I'm going down on the farm to the Durham Bulls to Joe Boyle. I feel like at the beginning of the season, and 3 starts, Joe Boyle wasn't outstanding, right? I think he had a 5+ ERA, but the strikeout numbers there, and he had some really good runs, and I think he kind of got blown up in a couple innings. I felt like Joe Boyle was on track to be a pretty good starting pitcher right? We talked about him kind of to
Yep.
spotlight with him and Ian Seymour, because
Hmm.
that seemed like who the battle was. And for some reason, I don't know if it's just injured to the point of no recovery or just is trying to work on some stuff and it's not working or what's going on. But Joe Boyle is atrocious in with the Durham Bulls. And we haven't seen him call back up, right? They've gone with Michael Grove, Jesse Schultens. I feel like they're going with all these other guys, and they just won't bring Joe Boyle back up. Same with Hunter Biggie. He's also
Yep.
kind of been
Yep.
in minor league purgatory of they really just don't. It was at that one game. I think it was against the Marlins.
It
That
was. I was there.
you were there, yeah. That Hunter
It was
Biggie just
bad.
gave up like 6 runs or like 8 runs or something in the 10th inning, and they haven't brought him back. So I could talk about him, but Joe Boyle, this is his 2026 stats in Durham, right? He's 1 for 6, right? 1 win, 7 losses. He has 66 strikeouts to 47 innings pitched, which is, that's pretty solid numbers.
That's good.
He has a 9.13 ERA with a 2.13 whip.
Oh God.
For reference, right? This is kind of funny to think about. So for reference, we've talked about how Brody Hopkins has walked a lot of guys,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's been his biggest problem. He's mentioned it. He's put on the development list.
Yes.
This is a good
Yes.
transition to
That's
minor league
ugly.
minute, right?
That's ugly.
So you're kind of looking at that. We had Ben on. Ben kind of explained to us how this is Brody's kind of first, like, he wasn't drafted as a pitcher, so he's still kind of learning how to pitch. So, and it's a different ball in AAA, so he's still trying to
Right.
mechanically work through some stuff with his body because his stuff is there. But for reference, for a guy that walked so many guys and is now on the development list, Brody Hopkins had a 1.75 whip. So
Huh.
that kind of
That really
shows
does put it in perspective.
that shows how much worse Joe Boyle has been.
Jesus.
Now the
God.
ERA also, like, Brody Hopkins had a 5.40 ERA. So there's I don't know what's going on with Joe Boyle, but it seemed he's kind of giving me like almost like Eric Orsi last season. He was
Mm.
like a pretty good reliever for the Rays. And I don't know, I think he got injured and they sent him down to the minors, or they kind of did their bullpen shuffle and sent him to the minors. Never saw him again, and he got traded
Yeah.
to the
Yep.
Twins. And I'm wondering if that's kind of the same thing that's going on with like Joe Boyle and Hunter Biggie. Like maybe they tried to move him at the deadline, and just teams like, I'm not taking that. I'm not touching that at all. And they're kind of just stuck with them now. I'm pretty sure. Well, I know Joe Boyle, I think, is still under team control. Um, but I'd say that Hunter Biggie, maybe. I think they're both
Yep.
under.
Definitely, they both are.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting to see what they're going to do with them, because they might just stay in Durham, but they are, especially Joe Boyle, just not having good seasons in the minors, and I don't think we're going to see them back on this big league roster this end of the season.
Yep. I think you're right. And we've talked about this like on every episode of the last 5 episodes. What is this rotation going to look like next year?
Yep.
And you traded away Michael Ferret, who probably would have been a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Gonna be very, very interesting to see what the Rays do. Very interesting.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Wells is the next Rays reliever to starter project, and
Yeah,
they
you're
stretch him out
absolutely.
and to become a starter. But there is conversation now. You look at Freddie Peralta; he's a free agent at the end of the season. Nick Martinez has that mutual 20 million option. Drew Rasmussen it's going to be a $21 million club option. So that's 3 pitchers that are in your starting rotation now, and then to make it even better, Griffin Jacks and Shane McClanahan are going their last year of arbitration.
Yes, it's really getting to a crunch. And the thing with Rasmussen is he is worth every
Yeah.
penny of that contract, and yet I just don't know if the Rays are going to pull the trigger on that. But
Yeah.
it's an option, right? So you can't. So you would have to pick up the option and then trade him. Otherwise,
Yeah.
you decline the option, you pay him the buyout, and he's a free agent.
Yeah.
So you'd have to pick up the option and then trade him if that's what you're going to do, which someone would trade for him in a heartbeat. Probably the Mets, frankly. That's
Yeah.
like
I think what's going to
I just feel
happen
so bad for him.
with Drew Rass and probably Nick Martinez, and I don't know as much with Nick Martinez. I think that one's a little more dodgy of an option. But I think with the Rays, they'll pick up Drew Rasmussen, and say they're not having the season they want to trade and they have to trade him. You probably get some good value out of him, right? He's a 2-time All-Star. Only cost the team about $10 million in the second half after the trade deadline next season. So, I don't think there's much risk. Nick Martinez is a little bit different, right? It's his first All-Star season. You don't want to take the chance that he kind of regresses, and it's the same situation. You got to trade him. You don't get much for him, and you're kind of out
Yeah.
like $10 million. So
Yeah. It might just be the one shining golden season for Martinez,
that's
I
very
think.
true.
But
Hey, good for
yeah,
him.
I know. Very good. He's been awesome.
Yeah,
And I would like him to come back and coach for us, or just
yeah,
maybe just be in the
just
dugout every day.
in the dugout, a vibe guy.
Maybe you could put him on the field just somewhere. Make him like a ball boy, and just like he can
You
just
put Corey Dickerson
clap
third base, Nick
Yes,
Martinez first base.
he'd be sending everybody. I mean,
Just go,
Brady Williams
just go,
already does that.
just go.
All right. I mean, look, we can't talk minor league minute without talking about Theo Gillen, who just
Yeah.
continues to mash. And the thing that is so incredible is like how much power he's beginning to show to the opposite field. Remember, this is a guy who only hit 5 home runs last year, and he's got at least 5 to the opposite field this year. So, I mean, we're talking like total transformation. He's rounding out into a 5 tool. The defense we're still not sure if he can stick to center, but for all intents and purposes, we're looking at like 5 tool potential player at this point. He's the number 5 prospect in Baseball America, I think it is. He's really interesting at the plate in that he's very selective and has an all fields approach. Like, he does not swing a lot, even at strikes. He kind of waits for his pitch and then he drives it. He is still not even getting this. You could say this. I like what he's doing. You could say, if you were really looking at the numbers, he may not even be getting everything that he has out of this profile because he hits it on the ground a little bit too much and doesn't pull the ball quite as much. However, the results kind of speak for themselves. He's got a 413 WOBA in Double A, which is like absurd. Let me find the more basic stats on here. I don't know if you have those handy.
I have kind of his triple slash and his OPS,
Okay, yeah, throw
right?
that out.
So I thought when Theo Gillen went from Bowling Green to Montgomery that we'd see probably some regression, right? You saw him in spring training, and that's against like real pitching, like major league pitching, and he didn't really look too great. So and just kind of looking at his numbers with Charleston, that really was sure to expect like, oh, there's no way this guy's going to hit 12 home runs with a 300 plus average and a over a 1 OPS, right? Facing these tougher guys, a little bit more competition. Man, was I freaking wrong? He has 8 home runs. This is just in 33 games with Montgomery since he got called up. He has 8 home runs for them, 32 strikeouts, but a 292 average, 399 on base, 554 slugging, and a 953 OPS. This season alone, actually, he has a 1.007 OPS with a 324 average and hit that 20 home run mark. This is a kind of a fun one because I kind of I don't. He has 5 triples on the season as well,
Yeah.
which I think is
that
just
in there.
something that has to be thrown in there because you see like Xavier Isaac has a couple doubles, Cambona has some doubles, but seeing a guy that's hitting for power, hitting for contact, and having the speed on the bases to hit 5 triples, along with let me see if I can find along with 39 stolen bases and only being caught 8 times. Yeah, Theo Gillen is probably going to be I get why he's the number 1 prospect for the Rays, and if we're being honest, he's probably going to be the number 1 prospect in baseball at some point because he is just so electric in the box. It's like you said, the defense is still a little shaky. I think he got drafted as a shortstop, and they just moved into the outfield.
The injuries moved into the outfield. Yeah.
Yeah. So, is he a center fielder? Probably not. And honestly, like looking at the Rays, like I'd rather have Johnny DeLuca or Jacob Melton in center field. Even Victor Mesa, I think he could slot in center field.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Theo Gillen's
Hell of an
probably
arm though.
corner
You kind of
outfielder.
want him in that corner, low key.
You do kind of see him in that corner. That's really nice. So I see Theo Gillen as it's kind of hard for Chandler Simpson, but I do see him probably more as like a left fielder than a right fielder because you kind of want someone with a really strong arm to be in that right field spot, like you mentioned, like Mesa. So we'll just kind of have to see what the Rays do and how they shuffle their outfield. But this guy, I mean, I can't believe the Rays have a guy like this in their farm system. When we talked with Russ, when we kind of did our Yankees, he asked me because the Yankees drafted Aaron Judge, and he said, "How do you guys feel like when you see like a team like the Yankees draft a guy like Aaron Judge, and you guys haven't drafted a guy like that? We had Longo, but Aaron Judge is Aaron Judge, right? like
It's kind of
but
a high bar.
that's kind of how like
a little
Theo
tough.
Gillen kind of feels like that. We drafted this guy,
Yeah,
and
we got to be careful though. We got to be careful. There's a ways to go. There's a ways to go here. I mean,
there is.
the arrows are pointing way up, right?
But it's fun to
But
be optimistic about this guy.
oh, for sure, this is what it's
Yeah.
all about at the end of the day. You know, I didn't mean to kill the vibe too hard. Like
No,
this is the
you're
guy
right.
to
Sometimes you got to
dream on.
get rein it back a little bit. But I'm comparing Theo Gillen to Aaron Judge right now. But
Yeah, yes, yes.
but
you put that sentence out there.
it is crazy to see, like, oh my god, like it feels good that this is a guy that we drafted and this is how he's performing at
Yes.
each level so far.
Yeah, it's there's a very good chance he's playing on the major league roster next year. Opening day roster could be tough, but at some point next year, you know, the Rays, if he's ready, he's going to come up. But like, if I had to guess right now, he's probably a September call up 2027. If I just had to guess, because then he doesn't surpass his rookie eligibility. You know, he's not going to become a super two, that whole sort of thing. So
and knowing
that's
the
my
Rays,
guess though.
they like their prospects to have a full season in Durham. Now
Unless you're
Junior
Carson.
didn't. Well, Carson,
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know where you were going to finish the sentence there. I jumped.
Carson actually, they tried to. They tried to keep him full season in Durham, but then Ha-Seong Kim, we got Ha-Seong Kim. Taylor Walls got hurt, so they're like, hey, Carson, all right, it's your spot now. Go for it, whatever, do your thing. But yeah, so you're probably right that he's probably going to be a September call-up because the Rays are going to value the service time and try to keep under that
Unless
control.
he's just like a stud. Like, unless you
He's a stud.
cannot.
Unless it's like Connor Griffin or like a Roman Anthony
Right.
in AAA, and you're just like forcing
Junior
that.
Caminero.
Junior
Well, they kind of
Caminero,
did that with
yeah.
Junior though, right? Didn't he come up briefly in like 2023 for 15 games or something?
I thought it was 2024, but it might have been
Maybe
2023.
Yeah.
Oh, it was 2024.
Yeah.
It was 24.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that could happen just to get him some looks at the major league level.
Yeah. Very possible.
Fluelling, number 2 prospect, Fluelling, catcher, continues to be awesome. He's such a hitter. Now the batting average is a little low. Batting average is a little low, 242, but 372 on base and a 456 slug. He's got 19 home runs on the season, 14 doubles. Looking good. Maybe we could spotlight him a little further at a separate point. Caden Bodine is meanwhile in Montgomery now, so he's moved up 3 levels this year. Okay,
Yep.
Montgomery AA batting 292, 371 on base. Power. He's not a power guy. He's a contact guy. He's shown power at times. There's some in there. So only 389 slug, but 760 OPS there. So he's also in AA. The name. I don't want to. Who do you got before I start running down the list here?
Honestly, I'm kind of enjoying this list rundown. I think
Okay.
something we might see though with Caden Bodine, and I'm curious if the Rays are going to try to do this. They do value their switch hitters, right? They give them a lot of some options in the lineup, and Caden Bodine is a switch hitter. We've talked about before. Either Nathan Fluelli or Caden Bodine is going to get traded at some point. It's going. I was surprised it did not happen this trade deadline.
Me too.
Right? Like the Rays aren't going to have both of these catchers be on their major league roster. Like you kind of look at the Orioles and they had Adley Rutschman and Samuel Basayo, and it works. Like, you can have them together, but it's kind of just not necessary to do, right? So I'm sure Caden Bodine and Fluelli is traded, but I'm wondering if the Rays look at Bodine and kind of how he's a switch hitter, and at some point say, hey, we just want you to be a righty, or we just want you to be a lefty. Maybe see if we get a little bit more power out of you from the catcher position instead of going back and forth, to just focus on one side, which they could definitely 100% do.
I think that might hurt his. I think he is slightly better from the left side. I was listening to a podcast about it. I forgot what it was. They covered him on, I think, Baseball America. They talked about him, but I think it was a question from Ben Whitelaw, by the way, that got on these people's podcasts.
There you go, Ben.
Shout out to Ben. So, is there a world where maybe one of them converts to playing first base, and then you get both of them on the major league roster at the same time? It just depends on how things line up with Aranda, who's going to be here for at least a couple more years, more than likely. I don't want to go too many names here. I actually got to run here in a moment, but you got the name that always kind of I miss here is our number 4 prospect, Cooper Fleming. For some reason, I forget about him, and I apologize to him directly. He is hitting great in Charleston, so excellent
second round pick?
infielder. Yep. Number 5 here, Brody Hopkins. We talked about it. It's just let's just maybe put him off to the side for the time being.
Yeah.
Last guy I'm going to throw out here, who has been absolutely murdering the baseball. switch hitting 18-year-old first baseman Tatum Gray
Peyton
is having
Gray.
exit velos, William. Exit velos out the ass in, where is he right now? Single A? Yeah,
He was
Charleston.
with the River Dogs.
Yeah, so he doesn't always lift the ball. Like, we got to lift it a little more, but he's slamming the ball. There's a little Yandy in here. Like, just bullet grounders
Just
coming off the
smacking
bat
it.
of Tatum Gray. Yeah, so he's been a lot of fun. Kind of another, only 18 years old, dude. 18 years old, 6'4", 220.
Wow.
That's a big fella.
That's a big boy. That's a big boy.
That's a fart smeller. No,
I think
wait a
he's,
second.
I think he was also a catcher, also, but they've because I think of Bodine and Fuelling that they've kind of taken catching out of his repertoire and just made him a first baseman.
Yeah, he's first. He's playing first. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the main ones I think to throw out.
Yeah, some other names I like to talk about. Austin Over, another name. I thought that he would get moved for a guy like Luis Ariz. So I'm surprised he didn't get moved, but he's somebody that has been killing it in Montgomery. And you kind of look at the race.
944 OPS on the season.
That's pretty good, I would say.
960 in Montgomery.
You kind of look at the Rays like outfield now and their outfield prospects, and there's definitely a logjam that's in there. So I'm wondering what they're going to do. But Austin Overton's a guy that came in the Shane Boz trade that is someone that I'm pretty excited about. And then I feel like I would be mistaken not to talk about Slater DeBrun because he's finally playing some ball.
The rapper.
And we'll see how he's doing. It's he kind of got screwed with his injury, right? It's a little shortened season, so it's a bit tough for him. And of course, we haven't seen Grady Emerson make his debut. I don't think we'll see it this year. We'll probably see it in the summer.
He's been playing. He's been playing somewhere. I
saw that on July 29th, he was activated on the FCL Rays, the Florida Complex League. But I looked, and they haven't played a game since then. So I don't know.
So what is? I've seen a couple clips of him hitting on Twitter. I wonder what he's. Maybe it's an international friendly.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure exactly, but considering he's not on the Rays pipeline yet, I'm not sure where you're, like, if he is. I mean, he's easily slotting as probably number 2 on the, because he's their top draft pick, right? He's probably slotting at number 2 on that list, but no, I haven't seen him yet. I'm wondering, right, because we've seen Rock and we've seen Vaughn. They've been in, high A. I think both of them have already started, or maybe double A. I think double A may be too much, but maybe actually, yeah, I don't know.
I don't think double A.
No, I don't think so. This isn't MLB The Show, but yeah, I'm curious to see how Grady fits in and how his profile kind of falls along these other 2 guys.
There's a lot of good things happening with the Rays.
Yeah,
on the field, we might have to catch up on the stadium in a future episode. We're not sure off the field, but on the field in the organization, a lot of good things are happening. So let's get this kicked off against the Athletics tonight. And we will see you back here soon on the opener. You got a closer?
Sometimes I like to do closers, but I'm kind of let's just keep vibing with this team. Carson's starting at second base tonight.
He is?
Freddie's, yeah, because we're facing a lefty. Freddie's on the mound. Breaking news, right? I think the Red Sox are losing, so let's just vibe. The Rays are playing. They talked about MLB Network. They were trying to talk about the Red Sox streak and how, like, hey, are the Red Sox legit? They went on this streak. Are they good? And one of the guys was like, I think this actually more highlights how good the Rays have been, that the Red Sox went on this insane streak, and they're still 7 games behind the Rays in the division.
That's a ball knower.
So just keep vibing with this team. Over 20, I think like 25 games over 500. So if we lose a game, it's not the end of the world. But just keep vibing, keep riding it, and let's go Rays.
Let's win another series because the A's are awful.
Yeah.
And, yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. We'll be back here soon on the opener. Take care.